one of the first times that we've got to see Coastline so far in Stage 2. And certainly not the matchup that we were expecting to see it in.
Santos starting things off boring. I don't want to be on Coastline anymore. Back to ban. Get out of here.
I mean, there's so much to go into it, Gio.
Oh, no. I wanted to see Flores on this map. I really did. I was so interested to see how he would influence the kitchen side. I mean, I personally think that would be the one where it's the most influential, but even on Hookah Billions. I mean, even downstairs, the downstairs would be so good for us on either of the sites. Damn it. It's so annoying. It would have been so much fun, but I suppose we shall have to accept. But it does mean that, you know, obviously other attackers can't be banned instead. So Team 1 will still have access to their beloved Buck, for example. You're still going to have your heart breaches available. And we have seen over the course of the last few months, it's become popular once again to use hard breach on the pink wall, except instead of opening the entire thing up, what you oftentimes find is from luggage or from the roof, they'll use a 4-pellet Hibana to just open up a small hole through which you can send in nades, even hold a line of sight down towards Cool Vibes. And with Lagonis locking in Hibana there, I suppose you've got to wait for the 6-pick, but I highly doubt he's going to change in the 6-pick. We could end up seeing something very similar.
The big question mark for me in this one, Gio, is that Santos were the team that banned Oregon, and they get to start on the defense first. They could have had Oregon defense first in this match. Yet, here we are on Coastline, where it's one of the few maps that could be considered attacker-sided, and they're still starting on the defense. They're starting on the unfavorable side. They could have had a real big swing in their advantage. I'm expecting them to show us something pretty substantial here, because you don't just come to this map when something like Oregon's available for no apparent reason. So, I don't know if they've got some sort of killer strategy that we're going to get to see, or if they've just got an idea of how Team 1 want to try and play it. I guess we will find out as we move on through. Hookah Billiards going to be the first site choice here from Santos. Nothing too crazy in terms of their lineup. They haven't got the Maestro. They are bringing a Bulletproof on the Jaeger, so info is going to be there. Typically, you would play a Maestro on this site as well.
It's the first E1D. Not only trying to catch out anyone who's moving, but of course it forces the defenders to remain stationary as well. Very important to get that hatch open too. A lot of teams will like on the attack to go for a thorough clear through from, you know, the master side. This is a very nice drone, and it's spotting out one of those players over towards the kitchen.
Horrible angle being held here by Cons. He's looking right through into Sauna. Always a chance at being able to pick somebody up as they walk on through, but you've really got to land your shots, especially when all you get is the feet to try and shoot at Alamau. He's going to open things up the kill over onto STK. Very quickly. An advantage here is going to be gained by Team 1. KDS as well comes on through. Take down Destiny. Already the pressure being applied here. 2 kills being found essentially for free. Managing to get those rotations and the windows locked off. Makes it a lot easier here now for Team 1 to look to move through in this last half of the round.
Watching out on for Cool Vibes. He doesn't need to get too aggressive though. You've got a Malusi Banshee there. So you'll either hear it get destroyed or, you know, it's going to send off its wub. So I think Cons has some relative safety here as he still continues to try and hold on to Hookah. Opening up the wall as well. You want to have those lines of sight down towards Aqua if anybody is going to be attacking in through there. It's not ideal. I mean, he can vault in through the rotate hole that they have if he does need to get out. And he can, of course, throw through the Toxic Babe canisters. But I think Santos, especially having lost a number of their players, they need to have as much control of this entire side of the map as they can possibly get.
Couple of Toxic Babe canisters coming out. Cons is certainly feeling the pressure. He's been droned as well inside of B. His ADS has been burnt. Somebody outside going to start to pressure in. Lagonis going to hit the plant, but there is information on that. Cons is able to detonate the Toxic Babe canister, but you do wonder in a 2 versus 4 now, as he does make a swing there onto Alamau. KDS looking to try and nail that diffuser to the floor. The final 2 kills come in, Levy and Neskin. Bit more information there. The EE1D coming in pretty clutch. Team 1, take round 1.
Messy round for Santos, and I think Team 1 read very well into where Santos were located. You know, they had those early drones. They knew that there was presence down in kitchen. And so by default, they knew where there wasn't presence as well. Combine that with the fact that you're bringing along a Lion and have the E1Ds at your disposal. Suddenly it becomes much easier for Team 1 to find those routes in towards the site. They exploit the fact that, you know, you have... was it Cons on the smoke over in Hookah? They know that he's in there. It's not very easy for him to move through. He still has to try and hold on to Hookah. So it's not like he can just relinquish that position. All he really has is the option to throw in the Toxic Babe canisters. And if you can bait a number of those out, then, you know, they're going to be gone. And the soft wall means that they could, in theory, shoot straight in onto him. So it put the remaining members, the defenders of Santos, in very precarious positions just because Team 1 read in early to where their positions were in, you know, the first half of the round.
Well, a change of sight here. Don't feel too confident. Instead, going to go downstairs to the kitchen. Kind of strange to see a sight change so soon. And I'm probably going to continue in this kind of critical vein, Gio, of Santos picking this map, just because I feel like they've got to be able to win defensive rounds on here, and if they're not going to sort of retry back upstairs, then you do start to wonder, don't you? Because we know how good Team 1 can be when they look to try and play vertically. And the amount of kills they were able to get, particularly in the early part of the round, without too much committing into the map, was very impressive.
A bit of a change here. Santos are looking to play a bit more off-site. When you have a look at the Alibi, you have a look at the Malusi and the Oryx as well. E1D could disrupt that, as typically if you're playing off-site, you want to be going in for quite a, you know, a deep roam. Alamau caught out. It's actually just going to back straight out of the map as well. Go around for a different angle. Oh, look, they can see Hunter. And he doesn't know. The droning from Team 1 has been pretty good so far these first couple maps, but Alamau's actually the first to fall. There's just going to be some off-put here. The Cons landing the second.
Ooh,
there's a really
nade.
Nice nade.
E1D coming in, but instantly Neskin being taken out of action. Levy looking to try and make some sort of progress, and along with Lagonis, they're actually going to find 2 here. Levy moves through and does take down Hunter, so even a situation that wasn't really favouring Team 1 has resulted in a 2 versus 1 for them. Rise on the Oryx. He has the speed to make this rotation nice and quickly, but he's also quite loud. User in the hands of Lagonis. Drone information now on Rise. He's going to go for a pretty aggressive challenge here. There's another drone at his feet. There's so much intel here available for Team 1. Lagonis already hitting that pre-fire. Plenty of time to work with. No real reason to panic. And you can see that Team 1 are just getting themselves into a position where they can get this trade. That rotation hasn't been made very well at all, as Rise was struggling to get on through. The plant now being attempted, but Levy there with the cover.
Good end there. And actually, you know, Santos got the first 2 opening kills, I think it was. And I thought maybe that could be a difference maker. Apparently not. You know, you look to see opening kills as maybe a momentum starter for the rest of the round. And one of the things that I said at the start of the game was that Santos would need to target and pick off some of those really key players from Team 1, and apparently that simply wasn't enough in this case. I think Santos just look a bit, at times, lost on their defense. You know, they look like each member is trying to focus on too many things, and Team One can just walk in. It happened in round one, happened round two. I would like to see them just appearing to be a bit more comfortable in the way that they've set themselves up. Not, I don't want to say it's a panic, but they just don't look comfortable at all.
There's a recurring theme as well with Rise being the last player alive. I'd love the stat on it. It's not something that I've been keeping a sort of proper track on in terms of a statistic, but it's certainly something that he's so often in a 1vx, and you just got to feel for the guy because he plays on the Nomad, he plays on things like Oryx, and he just always finds himself caught out. So there's got to become a point where that ceases to happen, and he moves on to, you know, a role that's a little bit more involved in the rest of the squad and makes that rotation a little bit quicker. Because there's so many rounds where Santos are essentially playing a 5 versus 4, and it just doesn't give them any sort of advantage. They really struggle to start going from there, and especially when they're losing that opening pick, it's just another thing that compounds and doesn't help them.
Got to write down the score from the first 2 rounds. All right. Yeah, I'm interested to see where it is that Santos is going to go here. It looks like they're entertaining the idea of going back to Kitchen, which is interesting because they lost the first round and, of course, didn't go back to that same site. That was up in Hookah and Billiards. They lost the second round, and I guess they want to go back.
Well, they're going to have to find something somewhere, Gio, because otherwise we're going to get a little bit more critical, and kind of rightly so, because they're not giving themselves the best chance here at success. I do believe we're getting ourselves back into the lobby. We have some players rejoin. Destiny PC crash, and he's managed to get himself back on in, and we're all ready to go. Santos, they're going to have to start finding rounds sooner rather than later. Otherwise, this one is going to start to run away from them.
It's not the end of the world to have lost the first 2 rounds, but, you know, with Santos, as we discussed before, they could have had the option of going to Oregon.
And that's the thing that's really annoying, Gio.
Well, this is the thing that just
on Oregon.
Yeah, and this is the thing that confuses me so much as well, is Santos have not played Coastline at all in the last few months. There is no record of it on SiegeGG. However, when we look at Team One, they've played it 5 times, 60% win rate, which means they've won 3 of those games, and 2 of those teams against whom they won are FaZe Clan and MIBR. Ironically, those are also the 2 teams against whom they lost. So I suppose it kind of evens out there, but I just find it very peculiar. Team One have a proven track record on this map, and Santos don't. And there's nothing wrong with going to a map that you've been scrimming and actually branching out on your map pool. I think that's a great thing. It's just, I don't know, it's risky.
Maybe don't do it against Team One. That could be...
do it against, like...
Do it against somebody else. Do it against someone else that isn't known for the Coastline. I mean, not that Team One are particularly known for it, but they've got a, as you say, a proven track record on here. Rise, he's getting baited currently. He's just trying to search out onto the drone, but we do have players on the upside down rappel. And this is something that Team One have done very effectively, is they've been able to get these opening engagements without over-committing to the actual map. And that's in part due to the fact that there's just so many angles that you can hold here on Coastline. KDS there, being able to take down Rise. That's something that those couple of players have been working on for quite some time there. Baiting Rise a little bit further, getting the drones out there, causing him to make movements. And all of a sudden, the opening kill is theirs. Gives them a huge swing here once again, as a nade's going to come on in now as well. Not going to grab anybody, but KDS still in a threatening position.
I do wonder why it is the Ryze has decided to come on the Oryx instead of the Smoke, which is what he was on before he 6-picked off of it, because Oryx usually implies you want to be hopping back upstairs later on, which certainly could have value, I guess, if the attacking team take the upstairs directly above the site as they are right now, but maybe those Toxic Babe canisters could have been far more useful if Santos played more anchory and let Team 1 come to them. I just wonder if maybe they would have found more value that way, because Ryze, as you say, has found himself baited. Con's down below. He's watching out for where these attackers are above him. He has a general idea as he goes in for those shotgun shots, but he's just given away his entire location as the E1D comes in, and Alamau punishing his teammate of Destiny.
Cons is getting very distracted in that vertical engagement as well. He's currently getting droned. We can see there's players circling on his location. Apparently not supported really by anybody else. He's now got himself into the bathroom. He's got a chance here, but that trigger discipline could pay off. He finds himself one. The second, too bad. Initially it was a clone as kills trade further elsewhere. STK has actually ran outside and jumped back on in, so that's going to do something. The final 2 kills here are going to come in. Cons and STK. I mean, we saw Cons there with the trigger discipline, but I want to see STK jumping himself out of that window.
Yeah. You know, it was great. As soon as the diffuser went down, as a defender, you suddenly have so much control over the situation. There was very little time remaining as well. So at that point, you know, 2 defenders, they went into service. You knew one was coming in through service door. Cool, you have one guy facing that way. You know, one was coming in through the actual service bomb site. Cool, you have another guy facing that way. So they had the opportunity to set themselves up at the end there, and bringing down the Yana at the time that they did was perfect. And that could have very easily gone the wrong way for Santos, because if he hadn't exhibited that kind of trigger discipline, which it was a little bit touch and go, it wasn't exactly clean trigger discipline, but he did leave it long enough that he had the reaction time to move on to the real player and bring the diffuser down. That was the crucial part, and that could have easily turned back around, given Team 1 plenty of time to plant, and made it much harder for the defenders to come in themselves.
Finally, we see Santos pick themselves up around here. Now, Gio, this is where we really start to ask some hard-hitting questions. The site.
Yeah,
what are we doing
this?
in Penthouse and Theatre?
I mean, this makes me want to... I don't have it up right now. It makes me want to find out, in Brazil, how attacker and defender-sided Penthouse and Theatre is.
Penthouse and Theatre reminds me of, like, Velvet Shell. Grinding ranked. Like,
okay.
This was the site before, like, back in the day.
You're in the right season.
Oh, for sure. But it just... Blue Bar and Sunrise is a thing. Like, you could go down there and have a go. You could go back upstairs to Hookah and Billiards. And you just worry about this site. Now, obviously, Team 1 have got to get themselves in, which I'm sure that they're going to try and do. The typical way of moving through here is to get control of VIP. Alternatively, you can go for more of a theatre-sided push, but ideally you want somebody on that big window, as it really does cut the site in half. KDS initially just looking to clear through Aqua and luggage. Got a drone that's going to be moving ahead of him, an E1D scan, a live ping, and a headshot onto Destiny. Again, opening engagement here going in Team 1's favour.
It's the first step in the process of, I assume, allowing allowing Lagonis to open up the theatre wall. That's usually what you see open. We did see it's been electrified, so that's going to have to be removed. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem if they can achieve that from below. It is usually that wall that gets opened by the hard breach. So having control of this side of the map, it's a good start. Hunter's trying to hold this line of sight over through to the other side of the courtyard, but so far isn't finding anything. In fact, there's a lot of presence from Team 1 downstairs. You can see those silhouettes down below.
Hunter's missed his chance there for the most part, as KDS has got a heads up as to where he is now. There's a nice drone there placed on the side. Now that electrification has been dealt with. Nades can start to be used now from below as well. KDS there just trying to root those players out of theatre. There's still, of course, option for that to be held from Penthouse, but if there's anybody on the rappel, it is going to make it increasingly more difficult. And we can already see 2 players getting themselves on that rappel now. We're going to see one go up to Bathroom Hatch. There isn't a world amount of time left here for Team 1, especially with how many players and C4s are alive on the side of Santos. Cons could find himself a couple here if he times it right. The C4 goes out, and he does!
Wow.
Picks himself up the double. Remains alive here inside of theatre to pre-fire his way through the soft wall. Lagonis, desperate attempt to try and get the plant down. Alamau and Levy, come on through! Team 1 clutching it up when it counts.
Wow, if I am Santos, I am not happy with that one, because especially when the C4s, or C4 that got 2 players went down from Santos, great. There is so little time left for Team 1 to actually push their way into the site. They haven't been able to capitalize on the lines of sight opened up on the theater wall enough to clear out what's going on inside the site. You have such a great position there. But then you kind of not looking in the right direction when Alamau and Levy come in through the end and clearing up those last couple of kills. I mean, that's so... Oh, it's just such a good C4. And I thought that was it. I thought that was the round going to Santos.
Absolutely. What was the left? Like 29 seconds at that point when the C4 goes down? There wasn't a lot of time. And then even still, you see Lagonis starting to plant and you're like, oh, God, this is getting really rough now. He's just going to get shot. And Levy and Alamau have the cover. I don't want to say that's why we don't see that as a sight, because that was quite a clutch up there on the side of Team 1. But certainly the angles that can be held are one of the reasons why it isn't regularly seen as a sight. And it might be a bit strange to some people watching, because they think, well, you know, what's the main difference between that and over here now in Penthouse and in Hooker and Billiards? And the big difference is space. You've got a lot more space to work with. You've got the adjoining room inside of Aqua that you can use. Sure, there's still a big window that can cut off a rotation. There's also no hatch. It's instead a balcony. And it just makes it all a little bit more defensible.
You have like a lot more off-site room to work with as well, especially if you consider Pink to be off-site and not actually part of Billiards. That has direct line of sight onto Cool Vibes as well. Oftentimes you'll find someone actually situated on Cool Vibes. It's not unheard of to have someone down below too, or even over in VIP. So the room that you have directly surrounding the site is a lot more useful to you for defending Hookah Billiards than it is if you are defending Penthouse Theatre. Now, Santos struggled to defend this successfully back on round 1, and it was Team 1 who took it for themselves. This is the first time they've revisited it. Nice damage done onto KDS, but simply not enough. This is another one of the issues that Santos had, is getting droned out so successfully by Team 1, and then just being brutalized as a direct result.
It is a consistent theme with Team 1, that incessant droning at the start of the round, followed in by Lion Scans. This time, however, it hasn't worked out. Levy has fallen. No more awkward Lion Scans to try and deal with. And instead, it puts Team 1 on the back foot for a time. Alamau, though, can be able to find the refrag over onto STK, albeit it's a little bit late, but...
Oh no, what's that?
That's a grueler! Trying to make the vertical holes, and... Oh, Destiny. That's the C4 gone from below as well. That's the whole reason you're trying to make the hole.
Oh no. This is a very similar situation to what they had before, because they were down to just 3 defenders by the time that Team 1 came to encroach on the site in round 1, and they struggled to cover all of the space that they needed to. They are going up against 1 less attacker than they were in that situation, but they still have the man disadvantage, and it's still going to be quite a... No, don't just run out! Please don't do that! Oh, man. Everything went downhill after Rise killed his teammate.
Yeah. That's a hard pill to swallow, really, if you're Santos. And it's not to say that if Destiny had been alive, it would have been much different. Team 1 are moving with a certain level of confidence now. you know, Alamau, he was playing the Twitch in that last round. Everybody knows how good Twitch's F2 is at the minute. You know, that's the gun that you take if you want to start to shred. And that's exactly what we were seeing. Another really tough round here for Santos, and you just get the impression that things aren't going to get any easier when they eventually make that switch onto the attack. There's another round here of defense left for them. But I mean, if they finish at a 1-5 split, it's going to start to look like a pretty quick game as soon as you get Team 1 on the defense, and they're the ones that are going to translate this aggressive attacking play that they're going with into an aggressive defensive play where they're going to be going for peaks. They're going to be trying to get you early and not give free access to the building. It's a bit of a worrying sight here for Santos, but finally they're going to change site. They're going to go downstairs to double bar.
So this is the first site that they haven't been to, and this is what you, Ollie, was saying. You would have preferred them to have visited before they went to Penthouse Theatre. So we'll see how this one goes. You know, obviously it has its own kind of defensive setup, and we look at the way that Santos are choosing to defend. They're kind of leaning into this kind of trap idea. They've brought along the Grishnot mines of the Ella, they brought along the Goo mines of Legion. So they want Team 1 to fall into those, I suppose, as well as the Wamai alongside the Jaeger, which I think is a good decision because they have found themselves caught out in nades just a couple of times. It also makes it harder for the utility that they are leaning into to be brought down. However, I kind of can't help but think that maybe they would benefit from bringing an Echo or a Maestro, you know, especially as Echo has a shield. So you have the option for denial, but you'll also have the information, which they seem to be dearly lacking.
Yeah, information isn't something that they've really chosen to bring all game either. We haven't seen any Maestro really be played by Santos. And you think of this map and you think Maestro's a bit of a mainstay. Especially when you see operators like Ella and Legion being brought, you start to worry a little bit. So we'll see where the Grismots have been placed and if there is a specific plan for them. ADS droning himself in now. He's got active info as to where Rise is. In the meantime, doesn't want to challenge. Instead, going to look to leave Rise to live to fight another day. Make a bit of a rotation. A lot of upstairs control is available pretty much for free here, which is kind of unusual with the site being Blue Bar and Sunrise, as there are some very powerful angles that can be gained. Lionscan comes in along with the drone. That's the information that was required, but Dragonis, he hadn't accounted for Rise to still be inside a kitchen. Destiny as well, doubling down. That's Diffuser cold on the stairs. It's a good hold there from Santos.
Yeah, I don't hate that from SDK. When he saw the drone initially, I was worried he was going to get himself caught out because, you know, the player from Team 1 was only just further up the stairs. It means that Alamau now has to be a bit more precarious to collect the diffuser, but he's collected it pretty safely. Now, Team 1, still a bit further behind in terms of man advantage, and if Cons can get himself picked up here, then Santos will look pretty decent. Final 30 seconds.
SDK's taken Ella. Scorpion's doing a bit of damage for him inside of this round. Cons is still going to be downed here. Alamau looking to make a drop, gets himself into an engagement and actually finds it over onto Destiny. Essentially still a 3 versus 2 here in favor of Santos, and with not a lot of time left, you've got to think that this is a round that they could be getting here. Alamau looks to pad his stats before being taken out by Rise. Neskin, he's still outside. Gets caught out there on the window. We will see a 2-4 split here for Santos.
So the answer to the question, should Santos have gone to Blue and Sunrise instead of Penthouse Theatre? Indubitably, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't put it quite that simply. You never know how it would have gone, but they did pretty well on it. And I think, you know, Team 1 didn't attack that in the most orthodox way. Typically, you see it be a bit more methodical, open up either the wall into the blue bar, or you focus on pool or sauna or whatever you want to call it, the opening into Sunrise, remove utility that way. But instead, I think they read very much into the fact that Santos had this roam going on and they wanted to do a clear, which is what Team 1 have been doing for lots of this game, and it's worked out for them excellently. But they were the victims of a lot more damage than I think they were anticipating in that round, which is nice to see that Santos kind of got some grip onto that, but unfortunate that it happened to be in the 6th round when they were just on the cusp of the turn of the half. However, it means now that Santos are going to be on attack, which to many would be the better side of Coastline, although so many of the maps in Rainbow Six over the last year have switched in a number of regions, as to how you would expect the halves to go. You know, like in one region you'll have defender-sided Oregon, in the other region you'll have attacker-sided Oregon, or Consulate has certainly changed over time too, so who even knows anymore?
It's very matchup specific and it's very operator band specific as well. And they're not two things that can really be judged too easily. But we're seeing a quick plant here by Santos. They are bringing the heat, and Lagonis is feeling it. SDK continuing such a tear that he was on in the previous round as he finds himself a couple. Still alive in a post plant here for Team 1 to try and work with. A very aggressive plant there by Cons on the Lion. Alamau, so many angles to try and keep safe from here, and time really ticking down. 20 seconds left remaining. Don't forget they need 7 seconds to hit that defuse, so really the kills have to start coming in, but it's going to be Santos that are finding them all. STK, what a round from him.
Hey, look, very much the problem that I had with Santos over the last couple of weeks is how slow they were being. And slow is certainly not an adjective that you could attribute to Santos in that round. They got in very quickly with the diffuser, sent Team 1 into this kind of flurry where do we go for the diffuse or disable, whatever you want to call it? Do we go for the disable? Do we have to, where are these attackers coming in from? You know, it took them off guard. It took them by surprise. And because of that, it's not something that you can rely on every single round. I don't think that's going to be something that Santos can replicate on every round that they go into, but it was certainly a great way of starting off the half. And I think probably reminding Team 1 that they need to owe Santos a bit of respect. Not that Team 1 have been playing disrespectfully, but, Santos probably didn't feel too hot after the way that they played on their defense. Now, when Team 1 are coming on to a site like this, Hookah Billiards, which is typically the primary site for most teams who'll be playing on Coastline, I wonder if this is going to change the outcome, because Team 1 may be a bit more practiced. Santos may be going to find it harder to actually break into this site because of that fact. It could be that Sunrise and Blue was just easier to exploit in the moment.
I think it's a classic cheap round, isn't it? Where you can just catch your opponent off guard, especially the position that Santos were in going into this. They were down. You don't expect teams to play so aggressively when they're trying to fight back, because small mistakes in a rush round could really cost them. This time Cons has actually found himself down pretty early. I think from the drone hole. Diffuser going to be in clear line of sight as well. KDS, this is the aggressive Team 1 that we were talking about, where they will challenge you and not give you free access into the building. Cons will be recovered and looks to try and regain that diffuser. So nothing really lost on the side of Team 1 there with that bit of an opening. They've lost a little bit of health off KDS, but everybody has made it safely back onto the site, and a much more information-focused lineup being brought here by Team 1, as the Echo will serve as some sort of information out there for the players, potentially a little bit of plant denial if we get that far in.
Probably gave Santos a bit of a scare having Cons go down the way that he did, because if the E1D had been fully taken off the board that early, I think that would have driven quite a wedge into the way that they wanted to attack. Luckily for them, he was, of course, resurrected, brought back from the dead. So they can still rely on that. But with him lacking so much in health and carrying the diffuser too, there's a bit of a risk. Although, I do remember always being told, in Siege, it doesn't matter how much HP you have, because one-shot headshots exist. So You know, 25 HP and 100 HP, basically the same thing.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter all too much when you can just get pinged off. We're going to see another plant attempt here, and the aggression this time not really going to be paying off. Lagonis able to hold firm. The shotgun from Sofa doing a bit of damage. He eventually will be swung by SDK. Why is nobody watching the VARs? SDK is going to be taken down as a late trade. Hunter, last alive, 1 versus 4. Quickly made into a 1 versus 3. Alamau getting a bit aggressive there with the revolver. 35 seconds left, and no, everybody on the side of Team 1 is swinging. What is going on? This was a 1 versus 4. Now it's a 1v1. Hunter, he moves on through and eventually is taken down by KDS. One of those scary situations where a 1v4 becomes a 1v2 and then potentially a 1v1, but still, Team 1 able to get it over the line.
It concerns me how little recon was apparently done by Santos in that round. You know, the fact that they didn't know that Lagonis was in drinks, it doesn't really matter about whether it is, oh, he's got a shotgun or not. There was someone there, and Cons just walked into billiards. Like, that's a pretty normal place for someone to be. Why wasn't that droned out? Why wasn't that pressured? Why was there still a shield standing in the hookah doorway? You said that, you know, people were just allowed to stand by VARs. Cool Vibes is such an important place to guard because you have control over hookah and the stairwell, and if you can get the right angle, you can also hold one through into drinks and have some kind of control over billiards too. So really peculiar to me that that wasn't more thoroughly dealt with by Santos. And I would like to see that improve. I want to see things like shields be brought down in a methodical manner. I want to see them use their drones. You know, I'm not going to harp on too much about the fact that they didn't open up the pink wall. They didn't actually bring any hard breach, and I don't think it's necessary. It's certainly one way of putting pressure onto a player who's in that position. You don't need it. But they still shouldn't have just walked in to billiards without checking that at all. Like, Lagonis is right behind the wall, man.
You do start to worry at this point now where you see a very aggressive round on their first round of attack that worked out, and it looked well measured. But then you see that just come as a lot of aggression out of nowhere in the middle of a round, and you start to think, well, was that first round measured, or was it a little bit fluky in that they just had everything line up for them? And you just worry that if that's all they've got, an aggressive push that's going to be sort of poorly considered, is it going to start to hurt them a little bit? Nice nade being found here. SDK, a player that's really stepped up for Santos so far. He's currently double positive. Wasn't a bit of a nuisance of himself. Finds the opener there over onto Levy. Going to be a bit of a loss, particularly the loss of that Vector.
Santos look like they're taking a bit more time here. I mean, all of these players, well, a lot of them look like they're on their drones, which is nice. And yeah, I think in the first round of this half, they could build on the fact that, you know, because it was more of a rush type strategy, you don't need to spend a ton of time removing utility and whatnot, but it doesn't really work if you're trying to go for a normal sort of round. Hunter, the player who brought it down from a 4 versus 1 in the last round, is the first one to be removed off of the map. With him playing as Sledge, that's going to make it much harder to open up the floor above the site and hold any kind of vertical angle.
Yeah, Team 1 can relax a little bit now, especially KDS, as he's a little bit more unlikely to be as heavily pressured upstairs. Only Zafia left as an option to open up any vertical angles, and with Goyo being in play and a smoke, that means there's at least 3 shields to be going at as well. So that Zafia utility already is earmarked for that. KDS can just continue to hold an angle down onto kitchen door, a window from upstairs. No one really on the side of Team 1 needs to move at the moment. A little bit of pressure coming in now. Neskin, he's able to find himself one as Pons does trade back out. The push now coming through into service. Alamau gets away with his life, creeping through the rotation. KDS from above is going to find one before being traded on out. And STK man that has been so consistent so far, eventually will be taken on down. Team One having to scurry out of the site and get ready to retake there. They got pushed a little bit firmer by Santos, but still around to Team One and a match point.
That was unfortunate timing at the end there, too. It was like, start reloading, and then wait, did I see something? And then once you have that thought, you're taken down. So, not great. So, back to Blue and Sunrise, which was the first site that Team One decided to come to. So, they've actually gone for a more traditional cycle, unlike what Santos did when they were on their defense. See what it is they're going to be bringing. So they flirted with the idea of taking a Clash, but instead have switched over to Ella, which is an operator that Santos also decided to bring at one point. However, not once did they touch the Mozzie, and I think that that's actually a pretty good play. I think Team One brought a Mozzie earlier, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And when we've seen the way that Santos has struggled with the efficacy of their droning, I think having a Mozzie out on the field as well just really, like, drives a dagger into that flaw that Santos seem to have. So if they are struggling to gain information, that's going to make it even harder. And remember, of course, that Santos' successful defense onto this site was really attributed to the fact that they went in for a rush. That can't be done a second time. I hope they're not going to try and do it a second time as well, because I think Team One would be more prepared for that and they would be able to deal with it. So you've got to go in for a more standard type attack that is more reliant on information, and you're already struggling to drone successfully, you're already struggling to gain info, and you've got to go up against a Mozzie. That's difficult, man.
Is TK going to start to gather a little bit of information there and look to make his push through into Kitchen? Been very good with the grenades in the early part of the round. It's often how he finds an opening kill. Lion scan coming on through. It's always a good time to couple a grenade with as well, because the player feels like they can't move, at least without giving their location away. It'll be Destiny to find the first frag here onto Neskin. Now, Alamau has got the FO12, so he's going to be looking primarily at those close range engagements. And maybe we'll switch to the pistol if needs must, but still another kill coming in here for Santos as Rise takes down KDS. He gets caught out inside a Kitchen. The pistol will not do the job, as that's going to be a flawless round. Destiny, he picks up 3 kills inside of the round. The majority of them coming in from Office. Much different approach there by Santos onto that same site. And they do something to try and catch up here.
It wasn't a rush, but it did work. So Team One have now learned through the duration of 2 rounds that Santos just have something when it comes to attacking onto Blue and Sunrise. This return to hookah billiards, I think, is going to potentially be the hardest one that Santos are going to face, because a lot of those problems were the most apparent here. The big thing that I want them to improve on and I want them to lean into is the removal of utility. They're bringing 4 nades, so they have what it takes to remove the utility, and the lifelines too certainly help. Shock drones, I guess, as well, but it's not the same kind of utility that's going to be removed by shock drones. So, and once again, you know, Team One, they've gone for this very heavy utility denial. I suppose you could argue utility soak as well, because you're considering that the mute jammers have to be removed, the electro claws have to be removed, the yokai drones have to be removed, and likely the Mozzie pests also have to be removed. So it really requires Santos to use their utility very economically, because one false move means that you're not going to have it for later in a situation that may be critical on determining the success of this round.
We're going to see a slightly different Team One try and approach this site. Kind of strange to see the Cade being brought by Alamau when we haven't really seen Hard Breach be utilized at all by Santos. Some aggressive entry in there downstairs. Levy gets one, but STK is there with the trade. You can see as soon as a player's hopping on through and a lion scan comes in off the back of it and you know there's drones out there, you know it's going to be pretty aggressive, really trying to isolate a defender. Still going to be a defender downstairs inside of Sunrise. Going to be Neskin. Is he going to go for the rotate or is he going to try and fight his way out? He's instead going to get pre-fired on through, but so's Destiny. The cover comes in from those Cool Vibe stairs, but Rise with an alternate angle. Really good pinching here on the side of Santos as they do a lot to remove the player down in Sunrise. A nice team effort.
Going for the wall bang. Doesn't find anything. Half the minute is down, and Santos are not satisfied that they've removed the player from downstairs. But of course, we as spectators know that there isn't anybody behind the Sunrise bar. And there's a drone in pool just ahead of Rise that should be able to confirm that for him. And I hope that means more focus is going to be spent on the upstairs now, where these 3 players from Team 1 are. Now, again, look at how much is protecting KDS here. He's got the shield. There are ADSs around. There's a mute jammer too. There's not tons of time for Santos to try and eat through this now, but I think it's going to be pretty paramount for them to successfully break into Hookah if that's what they decide is the next move for them.
They do have to commit to which push it's going to be, and it looks as though it's going to be a Cool Vibes push as Rise does take down Alamau. KDS feels the pinch as well.
Nice.
Ukador and Cool Vibes both being pressured. Lagonis, he doesn't have a great deal of health. He does, however, have a C4. It isn't going to be long enough. Cons is going to get that plant down. He's giving the location away. Lagonis finds one. Refires with the shotgun for the second, but we can see that the player is in fact on Cool Vibes. Lagonis instead, starved of information, Cons with the crossfire. He knows he's going to be pushing in there from Hookah. Easy line of sight to try and hold. A very difficult shot for the SMG to pull off. Santos again find themselves another round here. Now, it's still going to be match point for Team 1, but it's the last opportunity they will have at coming away with a full 3 points.
I really like the way that Santos went for that attack. I'll be totally honest. You know, the way that they set up the 2 players to come up Cool Vibes. So you kind of bait that player at the top of Cool Vibes to try and take what they assume is going to be a 1 versus 1 and is not. Worst case scenario, you get the trade. But actually, it wasn't even that. None of the players from Santos went down in that engagement. You've also got one player standing in the Hookah doorway so they can provide a crossfire as well. So if you're the player at Vaz, you got to decide which way you're trying to look. And of course, you can't look all 3. So it was a really nice coordinated effort to bring those players from Team 1 down. I mean, even at the very end, when we saw the last player from Team 1 try to land a kill over by Hookah window, still getting caught in a crossfire. It was almost bait. So that was very well played from Santos, especially considering they didn't have a ton of time left and they hadn't done a thorough utility clear because so much of their attention had been paid to the downstairs in the early half of the round. Really impressed with that, and I would like to see Santos continue on with it as they head into round number 12. Once again, we'll be attacking onto the exact same site. A slight change has come in from Team 1. Instead of a Kaid this time, they've decided to bring a Doc.
It kind of makes a little bit of sense because there's been so much pressure on the grenade play from Santos that the Doc's going to give a chance at reviving a player or juicing them back up a little bit. Now, of course, you could have brought a Wamai as well as the Jaeger and try and gain a bit of an advantage that way. Still, Team 1 are probably feeling like this one's run away from them a little bit too much, and of course they're going to be trying to lock it out here and maintain a full 3 points, as if this one goes to overtime, it really could be anybody's. Santos have certainly got it in them to take this, and they've surprised us, or they've at least surprised me. I don't want to speak for you, Gio, but with the way that they've attacked so far, this looked like it was a pretty done deal for Team 1 a couple of rounds ago. And since then, we've seen Santos really do quite well.
It's been interesting as well because in rounds 8 and 9, their attack did look incredibly flimsy. Like, I'm not going to lie about it. I was not impressed with their attack whatsoever, but it has improved over the course of the half. I don't see them suddenly failing on this one. It's about whether they can deal with the adaptation that Team One have made. Now, Alamau, I wonder where he's going to play, because personally, I would like to see him play. Okay, he is heading over to where I wanted, because over in pink, you have the direct line of sight onto the players by Vars, as well as into Billiards too. So it's a good position to be able to use the stim pistols should the incoming fire come onto any of the teammates around you.
Able there to juice up Lagonis a little bit, as there's almost likely going to be a flood of attackers coming up into Cool Vibes. The nade does get eaten by the ADS. Still one in pocket here for STK, but a C4 is going to fly on out. Is it going to land? It is. It's going to do the down over onto STK. Lagonis may not know that at this point and could look to try and push on with a shotgun, but a Lion Scan going to stop him from doing so. He doesn't matter really about the scan, and instead is looking to challenge Destiny as well. Could find himself two here, and he does. It's a huge swing there for Team 1. Lagonis, the aggression has paid off. There's 35 seconds left. Hunter, he's going to try and push on up now as well. Looking to pre-fire into the corner, often somewhere that players will try and sit, but Lagonis knows better than that. He's back up onto Cool Vibes, and it's all in the hands of Rise. He shuts down Alamau, but he is 1 versus 4. 15 seconds remaining, and everybody knows where Rise is. The C4 from below is a little bit early, but Neskin with the pre-fire. He had loads of options there. He could have peeked left, he could have peeked right. Instead, he just hugs the bomb chassis, finds the final frag, and Team 1 puts an end to this game. They're going to take it 7-5 against Santos.
There was a really nice adaptation coming out from Team 1 at the end. The way that they played the dock facilitated that really aggressive shotgun on Cool Vibes. Lagonis had nothing to worry about because the overheal meant that he could push down the stairs without really any worry. And to get 2 kills for it, as opposed to just 1, all the better for them. And because that was the attacking strategy that Santos were going for and it got shut down like that, it's very hard to suddenly change the way you're going to go, especially when that dock is still alive and you know that that overheal is still going to be available for the team later on. So even though it was such a simple change, it wasn't huge, it didn't really, make anything fundamentally different about the way that the defense was being held. It enabled so much more from those players compared to the positions that they had in the previous round. And that was all they need. That was all they needed to change the outcome of that version of Hookah Billiards. And even though maybe it wasn't quite as fast a victory as Team 1 were looking for, it was a victory nonetheless.
It's a result that we expected, in that we expected Team 1 to win this game. But I didn't expect it to be one that close, and I didn't expect Team 1 to take so long to really start to adapt and make those changes. A lot of the rounds were very scrappy there from Santos, and it was rounds and occasions where you were just sort of sat there scratching your head going, this isn't the Team 1 that we've seen play previously. So still the evidently not sort of at the same level of prowess that they were inside of Invitational and maybe even Stage 1, but a win is a win, and I'm sure that they're going to be very thrilled, as there was a time when that looked as though it could have gone to an OT, and with the standings being so tight and with the standings being cumulative, it's so important that you're getting full 3 points for those wins. The 2 points and the 1 point split really does start to catch up and hurt, so Team 1 are going to be happy from that point of view.
Yeah, I mean, Team 1